So we are broadcasting. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Adventure on So Many Levels. We're going to play some Dungeons and Dragons.
Woohoo!
D and D.
And D and D.
Well, it's been a few weeks, so we needed some of those extra Ds. So when last week, or we could introduce ourselves too. 'Cause it's 2 weeks. I'm out of practice. Peeking the audio too. Anyway, I'm Christiana Ellis, and I am the Dungeon Master. Our players tonight: Jenny Meltzer playing Zaylene,
Hello.
Starla Hutchton playing Carolina Swift. Only she's in the wrong
Or
spot.
Zinhorn,
Yeah.
either. Hello, friends.
You're supposed to say good evening.
Well, now we'll introduce Paul Fisher as Zinhorn Windborn.
Hello, friends.
And last but not least, Mark Kilfoyle as Nedry Shiny Rock.
Hey, oh, there I am. Sorry, I was lost for a moment.
So, when last we left our heroes, the Pocket Protectors, you had delved deep beneath the Temple of Marushka, knowing that there are secrets to be found there. And although you have received several warnings suggesting that the people who made this place would rather not have visitors, you are nonetheless compelled to pursue the evil entity known only to you as Tanglefoot, because whatever dangers this place might present, you definitely don't want Tanglefoot down there. So you have been drawn by both the mystery of the contents of the lower levels and also the need to stop this individual. And very specifically, you had recently emerged into a cavern that seemed to be fluctuating between subtly different realities, one of them poisonous, one of them burning hot, another cold, another one filled with strange illusions, and all the while fighting a giant worm that seems capable of entering the ethereal plane. And as of right now, he has swallowed your sidekick Evan, and he is unconscious inside. It's not great. But as we resume our adventure, it is Evan's turn to make his second death saving throw.
Okay.
It occurs to me, I should have stats for monsters up.
That's a fail. He rolled an 8.
Okay. Well, he had one success previously, and I need the stat I need to pull up is to double check whether or not he takes acid damage from the worm's stomach on his turn or the worm's turn. Let me
Okay.
double check that.
As the worm turns.
So let's see. A swallowed creature takes acid damage at the start of each of the worm's turn. And so the worm is currently, here, let's go ahead and take you all to the map. The worm is currently ethereal, but you have a general sense of its approximate location. You've been working your way in that direction. And so Evan now has one success and one failure of his death saving throws. Carolina, it is your turn.
Where were we? Okay, I think I was running this way, trying to, because I can squint and like see things. So
Yeah, you were
I was
hoping
running.
to flank the worm was your strategy.
Yeah. Okay, so I gotta move a little bit more because I don't remember exactly where it was.
It was it had gone north, and you were hoping to go around to the side. So where I'm pinging is
Right.
where you last saw it going.
Okay, so I'm gonna move to there and look for it, see if I see it.
Well, so your true sight that you have from your boon gives you true sight and can see into the ethereal plane, but only for a radius of 10 feet, and you do not see it within that range. And you don't see it with regular vision beyond that range.
Okay. Let's see. So there's 2 tunnels here. Guess I'll continue moving.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like this. I'm gonna go right there.
Okay. So currently the tunnels are in their mode where they do various illusions, but you have found yourself to be, although you feel your body sort of tingle and shiver every time it switches, you have found yourself immune to the effects that seem to be bedeviling your colleagues.
All right. So I had one question.
Mm-hmm.
You said before that you think I would know that I think I would know how to use the cards to trap something in there, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Well, don't see anything yet.
Yeah. So I think the way that it would need to work is that you would, on one action, need to use the woe feature on it, and then it can, if you do a subsequent action on that same creature, then you will suck it in. Alternately, you can try to suck it in without doing the woe first, but then it gets to make a saving throw.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I would like to ready the cards then.
I think I explained that poorly.
Yeah.
It makes a saving throw, but if you do the woe first, it'll have disadvantage on
Right.
that saving throw.
All right, but yeah. So I am going to ready the cards.
Okay. If you see it, you'll
Yeah.
do that.
As,
Okay.
Yeah. As soon as I see it, I'm going to cast Woe using the cards
All right.
and try to trap it after that. So.
Okay.
Ugh, I don't like this.
Zinhorn, it is your turn.
I believe I was trying to catch Carolina to heal her. She keeps running away from me. So I'm going to continue that pursuit. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Do I have healing word? You are down some, aren't you,
I
Carolina?
think just about everybody is down at least a little
Okay.
because you've been taking damage when the environment here changes.
Okay. Healing word at 2nd level for Carolina. $12 points.
Okay. And as you cast that spell, the environment ripples around you. And all of a sudden, you know what? I take it back. You were on the fire. Version of this experience, it causes audio sync to be an issue. So let's just get a quick technical check because I don't want to do the rest of the session without synced audio if that's going to be a problem. So, can the chat please confirm for me one way or the other if the audio is still in sync or not with the sound, because we have that a minor technical hiccup. Because there's generally a delay from our live broadcast to what's showing on the channel, but just as long as the video and the sound for the stream is consistent, that should be fine.
Looks okay from what I was able to test.
Okay. All right, well, we will proceed then. Great. So hopefully it should be fine. We're all fine here. How are you? So, yes, I think that, yeah, so, okay, where was I? So the cavern now seems to have changed shape, and in fact, some of you are seeing, sort of subtly different layouts here. Carolina, that is not true of you, but, I need wisdom saving throws from everybody else.
Including me?
Yes.
And it is magical, right?
Yes.
11.
11? Okay.
9.
Okay. Gosh, what was my...
Ivy's was 12.
Okay, let's see. It was, okay, so if you got below a 15, then you are currently experiencing the hallucinations which leave you disoriented. But if you get a 15 or higher, you're fine. Okay. Did you have anything else that you wanted to do on your turn, Zinhorn? Despite the fact that you're suddenly... things seem to have changed around you and you're disoriented?
Nope.
Okay. That makes it the worm's turn. And... I'm gonna match the music down just a little bit more again. And so, on the worm's turn, Evan within the worm is going to take acid damage, which will represent a second failed death saving throw.
I thought I went after Zinhorn.
The
we
worm,
rolled.
the worm is after Zinhorn and then you.
Oh, okay.
The
I
worm
thought we
isn't showing
rolled
on the tracker right
harder.
now because it's in the ethereal plane,
Oh, okay.
meaning the GM layer.
Uh-huh. Yep.
Yeah. So, but it is in fact actually going to return to the material plane layer on its turn here, and I think that it is going to lash out and attack Carolina, who...
Do I see it?
Yes, you are suddenly aware of these. Yeah, so when the illusory walls and everything shifted, you are not disoriented by it, but you are nonetheless able to see through and see where it is as it reappears. And so it is.
Because
oh, yes,
as,
you're right.
as my action, I was gonna
Yeah, you did ready it.
cast-
So
with the cards.
right. So remind me just how it's written there. Does it make a saving throw for that, or it just works? It just happens.
Let's see.
I think you roll a percentile dice to see if you accidentally set something else free.
Yeah, I think that's because it doesn't give me a. It just says the creature has disadvantage on attack rolls, ability checks, and saving throws. So it doesn't give
Yeah,
me a roll for it to make.
Right. I believe
but I
that
have to
is
roll the-
because your artifact level device thing here is does not require you to have them make a saving throw for that.
Rolled a 90. Never rolled that high on percentile dice ever. Didn't feel good about this.
Gosh, I'm trying to pull up my own homebrew stuff here, and it just takes forever. I'll just trust you to read on. So the worm has been inflicted. You feel these tendrils and vibrations of fate, almost like plucked harp strings, zinging out through the universe to this worm, and you feel yourself adjusting its future. And it will be, therefore, at disadvantage when it tries to bite you right now, which is happening. And,
Oh, it says a result of 15 or lower, a nightmare escapes.
when you roll, yeah, so roll percentile dice.
Yeah, I
that's what
rolled a
that is.
90.
Okay, yeah, you're good then.
Yeah.
All right,
Whew.
so that is an 18 to hit. That was with disadvantage.
Yeah, that'll hit.
turns out it's really good at attacking. That is 11. Wait, nope. It is a dirty 20 piercing damage. And we need the dexterity saving throw, or else, once again, you are swallowed.
I didn't roll. Ooh, it's pretty good. 26.
Okay. That's pretty good.
Although it's kind of a shame that I didn't get swallowed.
Well, in this context, yeah, that might have. Well, I will allow you if you allow yourself to be swallowed, you can absolutely do that. Your successful dexterity throw allows you to choose. The presumption is just normally that you would choose not to be swallowed, but if that is different, then let's explore these options.
I'm trying to remember, because I want to play it honestly. I'm trying to remember if I saw Evan get swallowed.
I don't remember with certainty enough, but I believe you all are sure he's in there.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna take a deep breath and let it swallow me.
Yay! All right.
I will scream in horror. Carolina!
All right. That makes it Zaylene's turn now. You were disoriented by the illusions, correct? All right, so that just means that if you wanted to try to move, you could either move half speed to be moving carefully. Depending on what you want to do, we'll kind of rule on how that goes.
I'm gonna move up 1, 2, 3. And can I see it now?
Yeah.
Okay, I would like to... Oh, I forgot what I was gonna do because it was so long ago. I want to use cast Ray of Enfeeblement on it.
Okay. So is that a saving throw for it?
No, I have to roll. So I rolled a 21.
Okay. A 21 to hit does hit.
And it deals only half damage with weapon attacks that use strength until the spell ends.
Okay.
And then at the end of each one of its turns, it can make a con save to try to break out of it.
Yeah, so the worm suddenly kind of sags in place as if even just holding up its own enormous bulk is suddenly difficult. But then as you do that, the cavern around you once again shifts. And now everything is cold. And you find yourself suddenly like right face up against a wall that you don't have line of sight anymore, and it's disorienting. I'll just say it kind of pushes you prone.
Okay.
It is really unclear what's happening there exactly. It seems like illusions, but then you also just successfully cast a spell on it through a place where it seems like it wasn't, couldn't have been just an illusion. But now everyone needs to make a Constitution saving throw. Oh, excuse me, Strength saving throw is this one. I'm sorry, I said it wrong.
Does that include me?
No, not you. As long as you're allowing your body to do its thing.
Right.
Once again, your
19.
skin kind of ripples and flexes.
Well, I'm also swallowed, so.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You wouldn't. Yeah.
But-
You're plenty worm anyway. Burning, you might say. So for the strength, if you do not beat a 15, ice crystals are trying to grow over you, and you're going to take 7 cold damage. And if you got a 9 or lower, the ice has grown up around your feet to the point where you'll have to take an action to kick it off before you can move.
If I got knocked prone, so what does that mean?
We'll just same dice rolls, but it's just it's trying to grow up over you. But what did you
Okay.
get on your
3. That's
3?
what I
Yeah.
mean. Like, I got
Yeah,
knocked
so
prone,
it just means that the ice has grown up over you. You'll still have to use an action to break it away before you can move.
Okay.
In this case, it would mean you can't stand up either. But of course, your shadow creature creation now gets a turn.
Oh wow, I totally forgot that he was even there.
Yeah, he's down there by Buster at the moment.
He is.
I believe he was the despair version.
Yes. I'm going to. So now we can't see again because of the way the tunnel changed.
Yeah.
Okay. If I tell him to help me up, can he do that as his action?
Yeah, you can have him. He can use his action to break the ice for you.
Okay.
All
So I will
right.
have him do that.
That's actually what you had him do on his last turn too for Carolina.
Oh yeah.
all right,
he is
Buster's
so long
turn.
ago.
Buster is encased in the ice,
Okay.
but not stopped. He'll roll the 10, so just on the edge.
Yeah.
So
I said 9 or lower to be restrained. So if
right.
a 10, he took the cold damage, but he's not restrained. So he.
Pardon me. Yes, that's
Yeah.
what I meant. But can't see anything. But can see. Could see where Master was, and will run off in that direction, bounding boonga doonga doonga, and probably run to catch up to him.
Okay. Yeah. There you go. All right. Ivy.
She is stuck to the ground, I believe.
So it might just have to use her action to break free, and
Yeah.
then she would still have movement if she wanted it.
Yeah. So she's gonna do that. And then does she have full movement or is it half?
Well, I mean, it should be full if she uses her
Okay.
action. She wasn't prone.
She's gonna move right there.
Okay. Nedry.
Yeah, Nedry's frozen in place, but he doesn't really run anywhere anyway. So isn't going to focus on that. But he is facing a magical conundrum, and I would ask whether or not Nedry has any knowledge about the targeting of certain spells, and whether it would include the stomach contents or not.
Okay. Well, let's. I mean, ask me the
So there's-
question. Maybe you need to make an Arcana check or something.
Sure. So in particular, banishment, which targets a creature.
Uh huh. Oh, so like, would a creature swallowed by it be also
Be
banished?
sent along with it. Yeah.
I would say no, not yet, not under these circumstances. Like you
Okay.
think, I think you think a living creature would not, but a dead one might.
Okay. Well, I hope they're not dead, I guess. And so he'll pull out his Periton feather pen, draw in midair, leaving traces of blue lines that sparkle with a large circle and a big X crossed through the middle, and cast banishment. He's literally just within range, 60 feet,
Very cool.
and see if it works. That is a charisma saving throw.
Well, here's the good news for you. I haven't rolled yet, so it's not a sure thing. But you all might be surprised that this giant worm is not exactly rolling in charisma.
Does it? And it still has disadvantage, right?
That's correct. So it is simultaneously not good at charisma and is rolling with disadvantage. But well, let's see. Okay, so with disadvantage, it rolled a 5, and so that means its result is a 2.
Ooh. Okay.
It
And
is
thus, hopefully,
banished.
it is banished.
Poof. But all of a sudden now, you watch as this worm suddenly, vanishes. But then all of a sudden, Carolina and Evan just drop to the ground, plop. Not far enough that there's any damage taken, but they
Oh, I'm glad that worked.
yeah. But you're holding the concentration on the spell, right?
Yes.
And as
Move,
that,
move,
Yes.
move.
well, and as you cast the spell too, once again the cavern changes, and now it's the poison again. So that is the Constitution saving throw for everyone.
Oh, yes.
All right, so for the Constitution save, if you beat 15, you're good, no worries. If you don't, then you're going to take 8 poison damage. If you failed by 5 or more, you are also poisoned. I would say, as of right now, being unconscious, it actually does not affect Evan for this round because he's not, well, You know what? I'll say he's incapacitated for the moment. You know what? Actually, roll the Constitution save for him, Jenny.
18.
18. So, despite being unconscious, he is hardy enough that the poison has not forced him to succumb.
Yay.
Yeah. So, it is now his turn, and he will make another death saving throw.
Oh my god, a 2.
A 2. Alas, Carolina, next to you, you see him kind of... He had been breathing fitfully, and then does not.
I thought he only failed 2.
He had failed 2. This was 3. He had failed 1 previously.
Oh, yeah.
Failed another one from the poison. This was number 3. So, Carolina, it is your turn. He does not seem to be breathing.
No, not good, not good. I'm going to grab him and can I dimension door to Zinhorn? Like, is that possible? Like, I know where he was because he was right with me before.
I think you think that's risky because you can't see that area
Yeah.
now, and you potentially could, but these are tight caverns. You don't know what else might have happened. For example, Buster is currently standing right where you were.
Right.
So
Okay.
I think it's possible, but you think it's risky. I would let you try it, but we would have a roll to see how well it turned out.
Okay. Well, can I see, like... hold on. I'm trying to think if I can... how far I could possibly carry him.
You can move half speed, dragging him.
That is only 30 feet.
Yeah, if you used your action, you could get 30 feet.
Yeah, I'm gonna try that, and I will move him. I'm gonna drag his ass. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can only get to here, I think.
Okay.
Let's see, right?
Where are you going?
Away from where we were.
Yeah, but you could have run toward me.
He doesn't know
can't
you're
see you.
there.
Okay.
Like, because of the way the the cave changes like every time? Like we can't see. I just asked her that the last
Mhm.
turn if I could see still, and she said no.
Yeah.
Also, at one point, there did seem to be an angry maw in the middle of the room.
Right. Well, and also, like, what you see as you appeared, Carolina, is that going north, there's maybe a narrow ledge that might go around to that area, but there's a big cavernous
Yeah.
hole, and God knows what's down there. Whereas
Yeah,
here
and
is at least
I'm
a
not
clear
gonna risk
path.
dragging him over that. So, yep, going straight ahead as fast and far as I can,
Mhm. Okay.
and calling for Zinhorn at the same time. Help! Help! Help!
All right, Zinhorn, it is your turn next.
All right, I am going to run through Buster and head toward where I hear Carolina's voice
Mhm.
coming from. I assume that I know that she went in that direction.
Well, you can follow the sound of her voice.
5, 6, so I can. Whoops. Let me move me back and start over. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. And
I'm gonna dash.
well, I was going to do lesser restoration on myself
Well, that works too.
to get rid of the poison, but
Well, you'll get to repeat the
Yeah.
saving throw at the end of your turn, and might get rid of it that way too. So,
okay, then I'll dash.
okay. Okay. And so go ahead and
Alright.
move, and then you can repeat the saving throw.
Okay. And that was
Constitution.
yay 19.
There you go. You're no longer poisoned.
Yay.
The worm is banished. And I think, Nedry, I think it makes sense to me. The distinction that the banished spell has, which is that something native to the plane is banished only for a minute and will return at the end of that when the spell ends. Something from another plane would stay on that plane if you hold it for the whole minute. I think with an Arcana check, you can try to tell which of those that is for this.
There is also, I mean, the spell they do describe a faint popping noise if it's not native.
Oh, okay. Well, in
But,
that case, if it actually says that, then I'll just tell you, it appears that it is native to this plane.
Okay. Let's see. That is it Nedry's turn? Oh. it's
No,
not.
not yet. It was
Okay.
the worm's turn, which is why
Gotcha.
I was just mentioning it. Because
Gotcha.
it's not doing anything else right now at the moment.
Then Nedry is studiously observing his spell.
Yeah. So, Zaleen, you're up.
I'm going to. I don't know what happened, right?
Well, you would have heard Nedry shout, get away from it, I think, and then Carolina shouting for help.
Okay, so I'm gonna go. Down here,
Mhm.
and I'm going to hold Eldritch Blast if it reappears before the end of the round,
Okay.
and then my Shadow guy is just gonna follow me.
All right. So that would make it Buster's turn. I think through some of these tight caverns, he's probably having to squeeze.
Yeah, and once again, kind of.
Yeah, everyone just keeps running
following
back and
along.
forth. What kind of weird game is this?
I don't know. He's going to try to play catch
Mhm.
and kind of run around to be in front of his
Yeah,
friend.
Just trampling everyone, knocking them into the cave wall, and
Pretty much.
yeah.
Yeah.
I failed my con save, by the way.
Okay. For the poison, you mean?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Were you, was that for concentration or just for the poison of the?
For the
Oh,
poison.
I see. So you were poisoned. You are still poisoned. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, and I take more damage?
No. You're just you still have the poisoned condition.
Okay.
You don't.
Okay.
You seem to only take damage when it first switches, but then you
Okay.
keep the poisoned condition until you save from it. Okay. That would make it Ivy's turn. I think she. I would. I mean, tactically, you can have her do whatever, but I think just in dialogue, she's saying, "Where did it go? Are we safe?"
She's gonna come down here
Mm-hmm.
with Buster, and
I think she glances over at Evan and says, "Oh my."
she rolled a 11 for her con save.
Okay, yeah. So if she was poisoned before, then she still would be.
Yep, she is.
All right.
And then she's not gonna do anything. She's just gonna try to figure out what's going on.
Okay. Nedry, when the caverns shifted, the ice around your feet disappeared, so that is not still affecting you. It is your turn.
There wasn't any pop. It's going to come back in a minute. We have to move now or do whatever we have to. Get Evan back up again so we can start moving.
And I don't think concentration costs anything, but he's going to just kind of move anyway, and not really noticing much about Evan, just sort of kind of moving on through. Actually, use this action, just kind of keep moving.
I'd say
Somewhere
probably
over
unless
here,
you
right?
got close, it would be the assumption would be that he's just unconscious, perhaps.
Mm-hmm. Then he's got other things he's thinking about in the
Yeah.
moment. So yeah, he'll use his action to double move.
All right.
We've got to get moving and try not to trigger the changing of the elements here. It can make me lose concentration and come back earlier.
That's it.
All right. Carolina, your turn.
Let's see. Zinhorn is here, so I'm going to continue pulling Evan like toward him,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe like over here. So kind of between Zaleen and
Sure. Okay. Go ahead and get him.
He's not breathing. Can you help him?
I need to get him somewhere where I can spend an hour with him, but we have time. So, help me pick him up.
So you have raise dead rather than revivify. Is that
I have raise dead.
okay?
Let's see if I-
Well,
Revivify.
so revivify.
Oh, I
is a
do
spell-
have revivify. I
Okay.
do.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, yeah. One action. I'll do it now.
All right. So that does have the diamond cost, but I believe you guys did have some, right?
That is correct.
All right. So just make sure you keep track of the diamonds you're using for this purpose. But that's of course why you had it.
Mhm.
So Zinhorn, this is our first time doing this. So what does it look like when Zinhorn returns Evan from the dead?
Beautiful golden light comes down from the ceiling and bathes Evan in light. And Zinhorn calls out to Rashama to grant my ally life. And then Evan leans over and coughs and vomits.
Where happened? Where am I? Oh God. Oh. He's looking up at you, afraid. And I believe he only has 1 hit point, correct?
I don't know.
I think that's correct. It should say in the spell.
Yeah, he only has 1 hit point.
Right. But he is alive with 1 hit point. But you might want to take care of that in case the next switch happens.
Yes.
In fact, I think you feel it about to happen.
I'm going to use my bonus action to cast Healing Word on him.
You can't
Yeah.
do 2 spells in
Oh.
one turn.
Uh,
But here's what's happening. You feel your Revivify causing the cavern to switch again. And this is the fire version. So what we have here is we have the need for a dexterity saving throw from everybody.
can I get a potion of healing down his throat?
You used your action. I'm gonna say
Nah.
no. However, the nature of the danger in this fire version is the little jets that are spurting out from the walls. And so, if you like, I will let you throw yourself over him to protect him from those, which means you will take the damage. You don't make the. You're doing this instead of making your own saving throw, but you can protect
Right.
him from them.
But I do have fire resistance.
It's true. I'm just saying that
Okay.
you'll have resistance, but you'll have to take it.
Okay.
All right.
I will do that.
So, you are going to take, it would be 10, so you, Zinhorn, are going to take 5. Everybody else make your save. And once again, if you are, if you beat 15, you're fine. If you do not, then you are going to take 10 fire damage. And if you failed by 5 or more, you are also on fire. All right. Has everyone got it
Sorry,
resolved
what was
there?
the threshold? What was the threshold for
If
being
you
on
got
fire?
a
Was it-
9 or lower, your clothes ignite, and you're going to have to use an action to put them out, or you'll continue to
Okay.
burn.
Nedry's on fire. The weird thing about the arcane shield is it actually blocks the damage,
Mm-hmm.
so I don't have to do a concentration check, but I am on fire.
Yeah, yeah. So like it is there. The fire is somehow like spread like an oil slick across your arcane ward.
What was the threshold to take damage?
15. So if you get a 15 or higher, you're good. No damage. And if you get a 9 or lower, then you take the damage and you're on fire. Okay, so has everyone got that resolved?
Evan is unconscious again.
Oh, no, because Zinhorn took the damage for him. That's what I was saying.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So that's why Zinhorn didn't do the rolls, because he threw himself over Evan to block him.
Okay.
Not that I really want this to happen, but does Buster's bloody rampage happen whenever he takes damage, or whenever he's attacked and takes damage?
I think from an environmental standpoint, we'll say no, not for now. He has been with you guys enough, and Zinhorn has worked with him enough that I think from when there's not even any obvious target in sight, I think that it won't apply in this current circumstance. If it was an enemy attacking, then maybe. All right. That was Zinhorn's turn with the Revivify, and now Zalen's turn.
I'm going to put myself out as my action. And as a bonus action, I'm going to cast Healing Word at level 2
Okay.
on Evan.
All right.
So now he has 6.
So Nedry, did you make your? Oh, you didn't take the damage because your arcane ward absorbed the fire. Yeah, all right, good. That's good because it is actually also gonna. You're casting the spell is gonna cause the map to shift again. But perhaps, luckily, in this specific circumstance, it is once again shifting to the strange illusory property. So everyone can make wisdom saving throws if you're going to try to move around or do anything like that.
23.
All right. Yep. So if you get 15 or higher, then you're fine, and you can kind of see both versions of this place, and you can navigate just fine.
Okay.
But
Ivy is not doing good. Evan got a natural 20.
It's like, I can see very clearly that this is a bad situation.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was Zaylene's turn. Does your little shadow guy do anything?
Actually, my little shadow guy is gone.
Oh, did you drop him?
I used concentration when I cast what was it? Ray of Enfeeblement.
Oh,
So
okay.
he could drop them. Yeah.
Okay. All right, so then it would be Buster's turn. But here's a question. I think we want to briefly, so we're still sort of more or less in initiative because of the fact that you're on a banishment ticking clock, and when depending on what you do, you're potentially risking it shifting and causing changes again. But I guess the question is, what's the plan? I would say initiative is going to be a little bit looser here. If you guys need to talk a little bit, is what I'm saying.
Which way do we want to go? We don't want to go back the way we came, right?
Nedry, it's coming back, right?
It
Is it
will
gonna come-
soon.
Is it going to come back exactly where it was?
Yes, I think.
Okay. And I'm going to take off running.
Okay.
Are
Where?
you gonna
So-
say, follow me?
Yeah, sure. I want to go over kind of this way-ish because I know like roughly where it was before and if it's going to come
Mhm.
back in the exact same spot.
It was right here before.
Okay.
And you know that
Because as
right
soon-
now you actually have some liberty to move through walls that seem to be back in place when you're in the other versions of the cavern.
Right. Well, as soon as it appears, I want to try to put it in the carts.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I think that where you have just gone, you are running the risk of not having line of sight on it when it comes back.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was trying to figure out, because I don't want it to get the chance to hit me again.
Well, I mean, if you have the action readied, that'll happen
Yeah.
before it gets to make an action.
All right. So I'll go right there
Mm-hmm.
and I have the cards and I'm ready to pull one out just as soon as this thing pops up again.
Okay. So are you telling everybody else what's happening? They don't, or you're just running towards where the worm was?
Hey, everybody stay back. I'm going to try something. Get Evan away. Want him eaten again. Come on.
Well, you guys, I'm telling you, with initiatives a little
Okay.
looser if you want to have a conversation, is what I'm saying.
There's got to be another way out of here. Maybe down that hole.
That's what I was thinking. I'm gonna give Evan a hand and move toward Nedry.
So I'm not affected by the illusions, right?
Well,
roll?
if you made your save, yeah.
Right.
I think what you are starting to realize is that it's maybe not precisely illusions as much as maybe what's actually happening here is that you are actually sort of flickering through different versions of the cave that are kind of overlapping each other in space. And in some versions, the cavern is there, and in some, they're not. Like, some versions, the walls are there, and some are, it's not. And so it's when you're in this version, you can kind of sort of choose. And you can move through the spaces that are blocked at other times.
So, because I kind of know where they were and the risk
Mhm.
is low. Oh no, it was about casting spells, wasn't it? Yeah. Can I guide them verbally to where I believe there was a corridor in front of me?
Yeah.
So
Well-
just keep walking down this way.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know exactly what's on the other side, but I think it's where we're ending up.
All right.
Try to find some shelter if you can, or make some if you can.
Right. I mean, well, you guys. I
gonna-
mean, if you're not casting spells right now, then time is proceeding, but we're not. The plane isn't going to shift again.
Right. Okay, so I move up toward the hole and try and get a look for some way down, and look around, see if there's any other doors, because that seems to be where the only thing I can see where Tanglefoot could have gone. So.
Right. Make a perception check.
All right. $26.
You are pretty sure that the only place to go from here is down. However, there's not stairs or anything. It's just a hole, and it looks like it descends about 40 feet before there's ground again.
And we don't have a lot of flyers. I'm gonna hand Evan a potion of healing.
All right. Yeah, he can take that without it being without it affecting the cavern, which I believe
Okay.
is 2d4 plus 2 if it's a standard one. I don't remember if you had a
That
fancier
that
one.
is correct. No, I have a standard one.
All right.
I had 2, now I have 1, so he gets 2d4 plus 2. Does he roll or do I?
Well, either way.
All right. 7 plus 2 is 9.
That's pretty good. Yeah. All right.
Yep.
9 more hit points for Evan.
All right. Do I have rope? Is there any place to tie off a rope?
Yeah. There's places you could tie a rope. However,
Who's
bearing
got-
in mind that we'll say not that much time has passed, but you don't have long. You have like maybe
Right.
20 seconds left
Right.
before it's gonna
Uh,
return.
I'm good. Well, I don't have a rope. Who's got the infinite rope?
Sequential.
Yeah, I don't think any of
No,
you
see-
ever actually took it from him.
I thought somebody took it from it.
Well, if someone did, then they should have it, right? But if nobody does, then it's probably he has it.
All right. Does anyone have rope?
All right, that's taking too long. So I'm just saying we're going to have to keep advancing the clock. One thing is loose, but you don't have
Okay.
long. So, Carolina has a plan for when the worm comes back. What are the rest of you actually trying to do? Because it's imminent.
I guess I'm gonna try and hit it with lightning breath if it's facing her when it comes back.
Mm-hmm.
Because I can get down, but I'm not leaving Evan. Tell Evan to go stand behind Buster.
How far down is it?
40 feet.
How many of this? You can fly.
Ivy can fly.
Oh, Ivy can fly. We can make it down.
Is Ivy? I would expect. Yeah, she's up there with the rest of you.
Yep.
Okay. I think I'm going to restart the
Where-
clock here. There's one round until the banishment's going to drop. are you-
Zaleen?
But What do you want
Where are
me to do?
you? Move toward the
I'm not
hole?
leaving. I'm not leaving Carolina out here by herself. Like, she didn't really explain to us what she was doing, so I will
She said she's
stand.
doing something.
Yeah, that's all she said.
All
So,
right.
I'm gonna stand over here, and I'm gonna keep Eldritch Blast at the ready
Okay.
in case like tries to eat her.
If we can get close to the edge, everybody can just jump.
Okay. Then Evan will move close to the edge. I can fly. I'm gonna, I guess, animal handling roll to get Buster to move close to the edge.
I can't make everybody fly, but I can make up to 5 of us float.
Okay. Well, you don't have to do it for me and Ivy.
Right. Which leaves 5 others.
Yeah, except Aileen's not here.
Not me. I can fly.
Okay.
If someone is currently standing on the ground when you cast Featherfall, they like it just goes ahead and ends for them. They don't have it like it doesn't stick.
Yes. It has to be timed. Yes.
Yeah.
Just wait for me.
All right.
Carolina?
You
And
ready?
he's kind of waiting. He's waiting so that he can still. Trying to remember. Does he remember where it was, and where the walls were?
It has been 1 minute, so
Right. Okay.
yeah.
So he can move forward to where he believes he can still see the thing,
Mhm.
and be ready on the edge with everyone else,
Right.
and also watching Carolina because this might come down to some bad timing.
Yeah. All right. So when you can feel the spell about to go, does anyone else have a reaction planned?
Lightning breath.
Okay. We'll do it in
If I'm in
we'll do
range.
the reactions in initiative order if anyone else has one.
I had Eldritch Blast ready.
Okay. All right. So the spell drops. The worm returns. Boom. And Carolina, you are first. So you hold up the cards, and you issue the mental command to imprison the worm, and it's going to make a saving throw with disadvantage. And it's wisdom. I think it doesn't say there in the description, but I'm telling you it is. You know what? Actually, I think it makes
Trust you on
more
that?
sense for it to be charisma because it's like banishment in that regard. Which, lucky you guys, that's better. So, whoa! It got 2 high rolls. However, I had set the target as DC 15, and the 2 dice rolls were 17 and 19, but it has a -3.
All right. 1 sec. I'll be right back.
So, Carolina, you see it fighting hard, resisting, and you can almost feel like the pull that the cards are impressing on it, and its attempt to yank back, and its enormous length, most of it still out of sight beneath the ground. It's enormous, and it's yanking back, and you almost feel like it's able to pull you off your feet just from this this tug between the cards and the worm. However, it begins to distort and stretch until it is scooped into the cards and disappears. However, you do still also need to make a percentile dice roll.
Okay. 10.
Which means that something else is released.
We'll worry about it later.
But
Would I know?
well, so bear in mind. So here's something that you'll have like a spur of the moment situation. Because if you recall, in her research of the deck, Sorashana figured out how instead of having the creature appear somewhere like within 10 miles and not knowing where, you could choose to have it appear in your immediate presence. Or you could allow it to just be somewhere.
Oh
Every
my
within
God,
10
one-
miles of that town.
one thing at a time, I think. That's like my initial reaction, so I'm going with that.
Mm-hmm.
And the worm is gone.
Yeah, the worm is now one of your card deck's prisoners. And we're out of initiative.
I'm really glad that worked.
About that. You know what? Maybe I'll just tell you later. It's fine. Let's go. Where are we going?
It turned into spaghetti. You spaghettified it.
It's in the cards.
Okay. Sounds
It's a
like
good
a
thing we know
fortune teller
those.
thing. It's in the cards.
Well,
You know, it works
it's
now.
literally like our world's version of a tarot deck that she used.
What was the card that she drew? Does it have any symbols on it, or does it
yeah,
now
I
have the
think-
symbol of the worm on it?
I think that the card, for a moment, an image flashes in your head, Carolina, of a profile that's perhaps somewhat similar to Buster's, at least in the sense that it's sort of vaguely quadrupedal and hulking, but it seems to have strangely translucent skin, and its face is just like a nightmare of tentacles. And for a split second, that's what appears in your head and on the card. But then once you have released it, the card is just an ordinary Vidunme card again. But now, one of the other cards in the deck has the worm on it.
So yeah, I'm not gonna say anything right now because we got enough to deal with.
How do you feel?
I mean, all things considered, fine, I guess.
You don't feel strange? No other inclinations?
What? Like, when you say, do you feel strange, what about this is normal? Nothing here is normal. Everything feels weird.
Fair, but I'm just making sure that you don't
But
get
no,
changed.
I don't hear any voices and nobody's talking to me and telling me to do things or anything like that. I think I'm okay.
That seems like a good start. All right. Well, everybody ready to jump?
Am I going to need to do like an animal handling check on Buster to get him to jump, or?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I mean, he's not going to just jump.
Okay.
I mean, if you all jumped without him, then he might eventually give it a try. But if you want him to jump at the same time as you, then yes.
Okay.
Are you doing feather fall or are you casting fly on us?
Featherfall, because
Okay.
fly can't get enough people.
Mm-hmm.
But this has to be timed properly. You have to go on 3.
Okay. Yeah, and so at what point should I cast fly if you guys are
Well, you
do it
can.
at the same time?
You can always scout ahead.
Fly, I think you could ready fly, but then you still would lose the slot if you don't end up needing to cast it.
Because it's through the mandolin.
Right. But it's still going to be like to do it as a reaction, because if everybody is falling, they're going to fall before a whole round goes through, right? You know, falling at this distance is more or less instantaneous, and only a reaction is fast enough to do anything about it.
Okay. Well, okay, so I'm going to let them jump and do their thing, and then I'll cast fly because we've decided that casting a spell triggers the change and it doesn't affect me, so I'm fine with that. So go ahead.
Well, for that matter, I mean, Ivy and Zinhorn Well, you know what? I think that even those of you who can naturally fly would probably prefer to not use it if they don't have to in this circumstance because it's sort of a narrow, irregular sort of chimney of a hole.
I
Okay.
can't catch everyone.
Okay. They can, I mean, they can do it if they have to, but it's just one of those where, like, all the more reason that you wouldn't want to have, like, for example, them trying to carry someone down, for example.
Well, are you sure, Carolina, about flying?
Yes.
Okay. Well, in that case,
And then he's looking between Zinhorn, who he knows is an average flyer, but a very close friend of his, and Ivy, who he knows is a very good flyer, but is very, very nervous about her getting hurt.
one of you two. I mean, I could catch one of you, but I would. Would you prefer to? I can
Don't
only
we have the
catch-
tower?
True. But using
Why
the
don't-
tower here might trigger something strange.
Well, but I mean, maybe not. If you guys just get in, I can
But it's
fly us down
magic.
there. But it's not
Magic's been triggering like
casting, but it's not actively casting a spell, right?
I don't know, maybe every time we go in, it's like magical energy.
And we
Well,
wouldn't
I
be
think
ready
if-
for
What it-
whatever we see at the bottom either.
How many feet down is it? 40?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will climb down with rope. I do have rope.
Okay.
So now you don't have to worry about it. Like, just whatever you're gonna do, I will tie it off up here and I will climb down so that way you don't have to try to.
Wow. No,
Well,
Does
no
it
there's
look
spell
like-
rope.
slots
Can't we
required.
all just climb?
We could.
Well, Buster
Oh.
would probably have a hard time climbing.
Yeah. I'll get. I mean, we can either get.
I'm gonna start tying the rope up. I'm gonna look for something to like hitch it to
Hmm.
up
Yeah.
here, like a rock or something.
Yeah, that's fine. There's no trouble finding something.
Okay.
I thought it
Alright.
was deeper. I didn't get a chance to look.
40 feet.
Well, we could climb.
Yeah,
I
except for
start
Buster.
climbing.
I can bring Buster down.
Okay.
I'm gonna start climbing down.
Then I'm gonna fly down, and well, I guess I'll. What are you gonna do to get Buster down?
Are you flying down rather than climbing down the rope? Because I'm going to make you make a check because it's tight quarters.
Mark? What are you doing to get Buster down?
Oh, just move him like I move everybody else. The
Oh,
vortex
okay.
warp.
Then I'll climb down the rope.
I think Buster does start sort of pacing back and forth along the rim of the hole.
Okay. Easy now. You're going to be at the bottom of the hole. You'll be with Zinhorn. That's what you want, right?
And he will cast Vortex Warp, and it will work for an ally if they're willing to do it.
Make an animal
Or if they
handling
resist.
check, Nedry.
Oh boy.
Nice thing.
13.
Okay, yeah, I think that's enough under the circumstances.
Okay. And he will once again draw the circles around him and then draw the line down to the bottom
Mhm.
to warp him to the very bottom.
Can it do a full 40 feet? I
It
was
can
thinking.
do 90 feet.
Oh, wow, great. For some reason in my head it was 30 feet, but I trust you. So,
But just a second. I got to double check that. Yep, it's within range. I can teleport anybody within range to anywhere else within range of 90 feet.
nice. All right. So, everyone else can just climb down the rope unless they want to do something more complicated, which is allowed.
I could have caught most of you. I mean, I get.
He's kind of explained it to Ivy. He's kind of a little embarrassed that didn't need to do it.
Oh, well, I've no doubt that you could. Featherfall is quite a fun spell. I've seen it used in some circumstances, but I think in this scenario, the magically shifting nature of the cavern perhaps best to save up for now.
Right. Yes. Okay.
And he'll awkwardly climb down the rope because climbing down ropes is not something he does very well.
What are Evan's hit points at?
It's like-
15.
Okay. Then I'm gonna at some point, like when we get down to the bottom or whatever, just set a hand on his shoulder, say, I'm glad you're okay, and I'm gonna use my cure wounds.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks. I
10.
mean, I'm still feeling a
Okay.
little like, whew, you know, I thought I was done for there for a second.
Yeah, that was pretty bad. I'm glad you're okay now.
And then I think he blinks for a second and he looks, is like, were you in the worm with me twice?
The second time was kind of on purpose.
Thanks, I guess.
Wait, you're welcome?
I mean, I'm only saying I guess because I only have a kind of hazy recollection of what exactly was going on there. So it seems like thank you is in order. So thank you. Oh, and thank you, Zinhorn, for healing me, I guess.
You're very welcome.
I think after that, he does sort of hang back just a little bit to talk to Zaleen, and he just whispers and says, when we have a minute, we need to talk a little bit.
Okay. You doing okay?
Yes. But I need to process some things.
Okay.
All right. But I'm good for now. I'm fine. I'm good.
Okay.
Solid. Just working. We'll just take the next step here. We're in a dangerous situation. We can deal with that later.
Baby steps.
Yeah. So as you are all reaching the bottom of this hole, you find yourself in. It's a little strange because a lot of the walls are irregular, like the natural stone of a cavern, except that you are in what seems like it must be a designed layout, because you're in sort of a circular with rough edges, almost like hemispherical chamber that you can see at the far side of it is a narrow tunnel, like about 10 foot wide, 10 feet tall, that leads into another chamber. And just peering ahead, there are lights, and you can see that there are several of these chambers kind of all in a straight line, despite the walls seeming to look irregular like natural stone. But it seems unlikely that a natural cave would be in such a layout like this. But this this first chamber that you are in, nothing seems to be happening, but you are just find yourself standing at the beginning of a path that sort of loops back and forth through this hemispherical room, circular, cross section, right? The floor, but then it's like a dome ceiling. And it's about 60 feet across, and this path loops back and forth between a whole bunch of spikes that just emerge from the ceiling and the walls and the floor of a variety of different shapes, from some that are just a few inches to some that are like 6 feet long. And as long as you just stay on the path, you are able to just easily walk past all of these spikes. But it would be extraordinarily difficult to get through the room in any way other than staying right on the path, because these spikes just protrude into the room in frankly a pretty oppressive way.
Does anybody else have a really bad feeling about this?
Oh,
It
yeah.
looks like it's meant to slow you down, which should make you ace your targets, I think.
Or
Keep an eye out
maybe
for
it'll-
anything that might want to target you.
Well, and also it's like everything here just seems like it's designed to mess with you in some way. So like, what if I don't know. Maybe it tries to trick you to get you off the path, or I don't like it. It makes me feel uncomfortable.
That's
Oh, yeah.
probably appropriate.
I mean, either the path is going to move, or we're going to think the path moved, or those spikes are going to come at us. So,
Is the path wide enough for Buster to move along?
Yes, and like I said, if you as long as you stay on the path, it is easy to avoid the spikes. The spikes do not protrude onto the area of the path, but basically it would be difficult to make headway anywhere else but the path.
Does it look like the path turns into a symbol if you were to trace it?
Make I guess probably an investigation check.
Yeah, only an 8.
Okay. Hard to say. It's a very disorienting sort of room that, like all of these spikes, it's very kind of difficult to, like, it keeps tricking the eye and your perspective.
If I squint at it, do I see anything funny?
As far as you can tell, these are just like these spikes are sculpted out of stone, and there doesn't seem to be anything else unusual about them other than just unlikely shapes.
I do wonder if there was another staircase. I mean, if this is the actual entrance, it seems like a lot of work to get to here. Maybe there's a way to stop everything. Still,
Well, I feel like this was not designed to be easy. Like, it's designed to be as hard as possible. They don't want people in here.
And Tanglefoot's ahead of us. Somewhere.
Alright, so who wants to go first?
well, I was thinking I would do like mass cure wounds first. I can get up to 6 people.
That takes time, right?
Mass Cure Wounds, I think, is still just an
One action.
Oh, nice.
Who's not hurt that much?
I'm not that badly wounded.
Are there actually just 7 of us?
Well, it's the four of you and Ivy, Evan, and Buster.
Yeah, so 7. All right, so I guess everybody except Nedry is going to get 26 hit points
Wow.
back.
Nice.
Nice. Okay, so are you making your way through the path in this room?
It's the only way to go.
Yep.
All right, so you start making your way through. The air feels kind of stale down here. The sound feels kind of muted, like it doesn't seem like there's any sort of a magical suppression of the sound, just the acoustics here kind of make everything sound kind of flat. But you make your way back and forth along the path within this room. And then you reach the other side where there's this little tunnel. Like I said, it's about 10 feet wide, 10 feet tall, and you can, and it proceeds about 10 feet before it emerges into another hemispherical room. And in this one, you see once again that there is a path that makes a journey through this room. But in this case, you see that there are a couple of places in the room where there is a neat and orderly little grid of oblong blocks, each of them about 1 foot by 2 feet by 1 foot tall. And there's little grids of them, but emerging as if from under the ground around them are more of these sort of stone spikes that seem to suggest these spikes. like emerging and disrupting these little grids. And even though these areas are, present, once again, the path seems to go up to and then conscientiously around those locations.
It reminds me of meditative labyrinths.
I'll be
I've
right
never
back.
done one myself, but I've read about them. I wonder if that's meant to be a meditation, a thought pattern.
Does it look meditative to me, like in the way that I meditate?
Make a religion check.
Can Nedry help her with his
Sure.
chatter?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
So that's with advantage.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
21.
Okay, hang on. Yeah, sorry, I just realized my music shifted back to the combat one again. There we go. So with the 21, you think Nedry is onto something here. You don't get the feeling that it's tied to any sort of a specific, like, divine ritual, but you do very strongly get a sense that, like, none of this is coincidence. Like it's not accidentally like this, right? It feels very deliberately designed, almost like a work of art, to produce an emotional response in the people passing through it. Not magically, but just through, imagery and depiction. And the message you take away from it, in addition to the element of feeling like it's designed to sort of provoke taking time and being thoughtful and mindful and conscientious about what you're doing, but also very specifically, you think that the image conjured by these so far, the message that you take away most from it is avoid danger by staying on the path.
I'll relate that then to Nedry and whoever else is like listening to this.
I think Ivy just says, fascinating.
Do you think this was for the followers of Marushka? Or for the people they keep trying to fool who come here?
I think that it would be both. I mean, anyone who came here.
I don't think we've really seen any sign of devotion to or representations of Marushka since the first level.
Most of it's designed to show something else entirely.
Looking a little closer, if you can kind of lean towards these grids,
Mm-hmm.
grids of blocks that are they all assembled into the grids, or are they turned or twisted or upright?
So, as mentioned, there's these grids of blocks, almost like buildings in a city, like on city blocks, but in a regular pattern, right? But then the spikes emerging haphazardly from underneath. Perhaps
no
under this
carvings.
new circumstance to sort of convey, like, danger disrupting the orderly.
Gotcha. Okay.
Watch your step.
And so, once again, as long as you stay on the path very sort of noticeably takes you up to and then very deliberately around, avoiding all of those locations.
Is there any sign that someone has been through here before? Is there dust that's been disturbed or cobwebs
Make
broken?
a survival check, somebody. That's how you would determine that.
Does anybody see if there's any dust disturbed or broken cobwebs? Because I can't.
23.
23. Yeah. Zaleen, you see You see the tracks that look like tracks made by Tanglefoot and others like him.
I will point them out.
It's hard to know how old they are because there's not a lot of like wind or elements down here to move them away, but they seem pretty clear.
And can you tell like how many of them there are, or
As far
Is
as you can tell from these tracks, it looks like one set of footprints.
okay?
Sand people only travel single file to disguise their numbers.
But then,
Walk
but
without
that would
rhythm.
be
Yeah.
that would be.
I mean,
out
you got a
of
high
the-
survival roll, and so you know that it's either one person or somehow they're really good at making it look like it's just one.
Yeah, I would point out too, though, when Lynn says that, I would be like, yeah, but they thrive on chaos,
Mm.
so I can't imagine that they would do very well keeping single file.
Hmm. Yeah. So do you
Is,
proceed?
mentioned
and
there
is
were-
he keeping to the path? Like, does it look like he's been keeping
Yeah.
to the path the way we have? Okay.
Hmm. But in fact, actually, if you're kind of looking through it, it looks like there's no hesitation. He doesn't like stop and look at something and then move on. He doesn't turn around. It looks like he is following the path, but it is just one unbroken. He's just going straight through.
He seems to
Maybe
know
we should
exactly where
hurry.
he's going.
Well,
Yeah,
he sort of
pick-
does.
Pick up the pace.
So you go through the path in that room, and once again there's a little tunnel, and then once again there's another one of these hemispherical rooms, and once again you find that the path sort of loops and traces back and forth through the room. But in this case, what you see in the spaces between the path are what clearly look like you started with a statue of various humanoid races, and then those statues crumbled into pieces. Like the pieces are big enough that you can tell what they were, but they are clearly destroyed. And each of those, again, is within the places between the path. And there are pedestals for the statues. It's not just like the feet on the ground. There's like bases for where the statues were.
Do any of the crumbled statues cross the path?
No. Your guess looking at it is that once again this is deliberate, it's representational. It does not look like these were once intact and destroyed after the fact. It looks like the destroyed statues are the point.
If this was all created by Talitha and her friends, what were they trying to say? Was it all just cautionary, or is there something else? And it being cautionary, they still provided a clear path through. So many
Dis-
questions. As usual.
Destruction. I mean, deviating from the path in any way, shape, or form is just gonna lead to destruction. Which is weird when you think that Tanglefoot has been keeping very closely to this path too.
Maybe it's meant to make him angry. He doesn't want to hold to the path. He's forced to.
Maybe.
But he's also been here before, I think. I think this is where he found the things before. The expedition was.
So you just keep going.
There's only one path.
So, as you proceed through this room too, there's once again one of these small tunnels, but the room beyond it is different. The path continues up to a point where there is sort of a big sort of plate on the floor, 10 feet by 10 feet. And in front of that plate, another 10 feet up, are what look like enormous vault doors that I think perhaps some of you have seen vault doors that are designed to withstand incredible power, or even to defeat traditional types of magic. Like, you imagine these doors might be like 40 feet thick and designed to have like a complex mechanism to allow an opening to go through, but that once in place, it would, it's extremely thick, extremely dense. But you notice that there is actually, just running vertically along it, there is a slit that looks like no more than a millimeter wide. But it seems to be the only opening in those doors. And on those doors, you can see what looks like some faded etchings. But the path, as mentioned, leads straight to this one plate on the floor that stands before those doors. And as you kind of move into the room and you look down at the plate, it has words written all over it. And those of you who can speak multiple languages recognize that in perhaps like every language you can think of that has a written equivalent, and some that you have never seen before. For all the ones where you can read it, what it says is stand here for translation of the doors. And as you are kind of glancing at that, the one other thing you see in the room is off to the side, there is sort of a set of pedestals that look like they must have once each had something sitting on the top of them, but they are bare now. They look designed to hold something like in a museum, but there's nothing on them.
I'm gonna step up and stand on the plate.
Okay. As you do, the etchings on these doors begin to glow, and they begin spelling out words in common. And everybody can see them whether you're standing on the plate or not. And just heads up, I'm going to be reading for a little bit, so there's a lot of words. But so in any case, if you are reading this, you have proven yourself both persistent and resourceful. If you wish to know the nature of this place, please read these panels in their entirety before proceeding. And once you have read them, consider deeply if you must proceed, and if so, what you hope to achieve. This is the story of the pillar. It was the weapon of a Titan. The Titans were unfathomably powerful entities originating within the primordial tides of chaos during the creation of the universe. With order, there was nothing. With the arrival of chaos, there could be something. And the Titans were those able to will themselves into being. They fought terrible wars for supremacy, their domains ebbing and flowing, fluctuating with the larger war between the inexorable court and the tides of chaos. Change was in their nature, but they all struggled to maintain their own existences. Ultimately, the Titans were all either felled or transformed into other forms. The wielder of the weapon which we know as the Pillar was slain on the island that we will call Dinuther. But their spear was left behind on the battlefield with a shadow of their will. It was buried into the ground with the haft sticking up, 10 feet in diameter and extending 35 feet into the air. And it actually has a little diagram up here showing like dimensions. Over time, the very ground itself became swollen around it, as might flesh infected with disease. The site became a mist-shrouded hilltop, with the handle known as the Pillar. Titanic magic remained within the Pillar, and a mortal who reached it could access a fraction of its power, giving them the ability to bend reality to their will. But the Pillar drew its power, and thus its instruction, through the planes of dream, and so the reality was shaped not according to the person's conscious intent, but rather their subconscious desires. It warped reality around it in such a way that it was very difficult to reach without incredible force of will. Even the people who lived elsewhere on the island were affected without their knowledge, but the distortion by the distortion field, were affected without their knowledge by the distortion field. They created a stable and comfortable existence for themselves with ordinary hard work, subtly aided by the magic in ways that most could not perceive. Most of the time, it was a good life, but sometimes the darker parts of their subconscious minds would invade, and shaped by the magic of the Pillar, these dark urges took on nightmarish shapes and attacked. Marushka was the spirit of the ocean and the island, and of course, the Pillar. She existed for as long as the people had a history to tell. Shaped by their collective will, she loved the people and provided well for them, but was sometimes shaped into terrible moods and sometimes rages that even she could not understand or control. It was as much for herself as for her people that she hoped to gain some measure of freedom from these darker periods, and so she chose Talitha, the human she thought to be the most capable and most compassionate, believing her to be the only mortal worthy of using the Pillar's power for good. She helped Talitha to reach the Pillar, and all appeared to have proceeded according to plan. Talitha reached the Pillar, and because she was astute, she learned that nightmares were not coming from outside at all, but manifesting from the darker parts of mortal minds. Because she was wise, she understood that this darkness could not simply be wished away without reducing mortal minds to beings without will. Because she was compassionate, her wish was not an end to the nightmares, but rather a desire that they might be shaped into good for the benefit of all. She was granted magic that allowed people to exorcise their nightmares, to confront them, to heal them, and from them, to heal them and to heal from them, and then to take that energy and put it to use serving the light. Much like oysters with a grain of sand, the dark urges could be wrapped in kindness and coated with compassion, resulting in the gift of a pearl. Because Talitha was selfless, the price for this power was that the gift must be given to another. And then there's actually a footnote there that says, reference arcane formulas at end. For a time, all was well. People were able to confront their inner nightmares and turn them to good. The people flourished, and though the nightmares and Marushka's storms still came, they could be coped with, understood, survived, and then put to use for the benefit of all. The people of the island thrived and prospered and soon became a great nation. So pure was Talitha's heart that her wish was purely a blessing, and many decades passed before it began to turn. For even Talitha, the best of all the mortals that Marushka had ever known, was not perfect. And a tiny grain of desire had lain in the back of her mind, hidden, waiting, a thought so deeply buried that even she was not aware of having it. This gift will do so much good, the tiny voice whispered, that surely, once in a while, I could use it just for me. This thought, this irritant, this grain of selfishness was so small that the process of confronting it did not begin until it was far too late for Dinuthair's salvation. For it had created a loophole in the wish. The magic always had a price, but the power came first, and the price could be deferred. People began to realize that when they chose to hold on to the power just a little longer, nothing seemed to happen. They were not struck down by lightning, nor dragged to the underworld by shadowy claws. This power is for you, they would tell their neighbor, but not today. I will give it to you tomorrow, next week, someday. But by delaying the payment of the price for this power, the greed and selfishness that drove them just created more nightmares, both in themselves and in the would-be recipient. Jealousy, anger, fear. There are some, perhaps, that might have stopped if they had known. But for others, this just meant more fuel for the fires of magical industry. Once it was widely understood, the people used this power to create incredible wonders, drawing upon more and more nightmares to power their creations, and accumulating an endless debt that, as far as they knew, never insisted on repayment. But what appeared to them as perpetual renewable power was actually a dark and vicious cycle. The first sign was that the people stopped remembering their dreams. They slept but did not awake rested. Gradually, the land began to change, growing less fertile, more hostile. People could not relate to one another. Communities fractured. And all the while, the magical harvest continued unabated. Marushka, as a reflection of spiritual energy and the mortal wills around her, darkened as well. The storms of the past had been brought under control, but so too had the bright sunny days, the brisk autumns, the light cleansing rains. Days grew shorter, and when the sun shone, it was through oppressive cloud cover. There were some of the people who could see these changes and understand that things would get worse and worse if they continued. They worked to try and persuade people that the course must be changed. At first they were disbelieved. Then they were told that the changes could be dealt with. Then, when it could no longer be denied that these changes were being wrought, the individuals with the most power decided that they could use that power to insulate themselves while allowing others to suffer. That brought them to the final dark turn. They discovered that they could go yet further. Their magical power carried with it a price, but that price could be extracted from others by force. This began a process through which the rulers of Dinuthair began to see their own people as fuel. But they knew that that could not be kept up for long, and so plans were drafted to use that fuel to power a full-scale invasion of the mainland, after which they would mine the entirety of the material plane to further their own rise to godlike power. And so it was that the tiny grain of selfishness in Tilitha's wish had finally become her nightmare, and so it was that she and her closest allies and their families decided that this nightmare must be confronted, contained, and then the price paid for all. Together they used the power of the pillar to seal away Dinuthair in its entirety. They did this knowing that it would sever Marushka from much of her domain and power, but she had been too corrupted by the darkness in her people to be brought in on the plan. Instead, Tilitha and her allies, Rupino, Ustok, Trandinel, Hestia, and Selter, set about paying the price for this last act of power. They would devote their magically extended lives and the lives of their descendants to be guardians of the imprisoned Dinuthair, and to be caretakers of what remained of Marushka, keeping her traditions alive how they could. The facility you now occupy is their base of operation. A temple to Marushka at the surface, followed by layers designed to gently and then forcefully discourage further exploration. Reading this, you have arrived at our final barrier. Answers and a plea that you not proceed any further without an understanding of the dangers. There are no treasures here to be prized from the deeper layers, only the workings of the magic which keeps Denethor sealed away. On the pillars to your right are examples of the cursed artifacts that arise from this magic. If you examine them carefully, you will discover that they provide power, but only power that is corrupted. Know that disruption of the magic... there are no treasures to be prized from the deeper layers, the workings of the magic which keeps Denethor sealed away. Know that disruption of this magic risks the release of a powerful force which seeks planar domination. The arcane theories of this prison are elucidated below so that you might understand the purpose of this site. Further, the following sigils will summon a fractine, and there's another little footnote below that says a two-dimensional demi-plane, and then there's little formulas that describe it, which will allow non-physical access to the throne chamber, so that you can verify for yourself that that is all that can be found here. The gemstone above the door is an indicator of the current containment. And at this point, you kind of glance up, and there is a deep red, like ruby, above it. If all is well, the gemstone should be green. This indicates that the throne chamber is safe to access. Yellow indicates that the system has detected energy breaches, but physical containment is intact. The throne chamber may experience hazardous environmental conditions. Orange indicates that physical breaches have been detected, but are controlled within the bulwark. The throne chamber is not safe to enter without psychic shielding and airtight armor of the specifications below. Red indicates that uncontrolled breaches have been detected, and the throne chamber may only be safely accessed via the fractine. And below that, there are instructions for how to summon the fractine. And as mentioned, some of these footnotes, I would imagine, are of high interest to Nedry in particular, but certainly many of the others, that seem to basically explain all of the arcane theory behind what was just described. And it gets down into the math and everything. It's not quite like what you could copy into a spell book and cast as a spell, but certainly enough to kind of understand the principles behind it. But I think, Carolina, as you are kind of, taking all of that in, just at the corner of your eye, you happen to notice that at one of the walls, like off in the corner, is another place where you can see there's an illusion making it look like the wall is intact. And once again, there is something has been dug through or blasted.
Ugh. You're definitely not the first ones here, guys.
Right.
The ruby's a good indicator of that, too.
Yeah.
So much to learn.
And he's got his book open, but he doesn't even have any idea where to start writing. It's just too much.
I'm guessing we need to summon a fractine to see what's going on inside, because I doubt we have armor good enough.
I want
go
to
in
take a
there.
look at. I want to take a look at the pedestals that are empty, because
Yeah.
I have an idea of at least one thing that might have been there.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, as you look at those, I mean, they do seem as though, like, I think your hunch, there is nothing to contradict the theory that perhaps they were there and some previous visitor decided to take them anyway, despite the warnings that they were corrupted.
Are there any trace shapes left in like dust that might have gathered there?
You get the impression that those were not taken recently. Like it might have been decades since there was anything sitting there. However,
no other-
at one of them does look like it would be the right shape to hold, for example, the deep jade circlet.
Circlet?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's not like any plaques or any kind
what
of
what I think
markings?
I think actually you do sense that there's magic associated with it, and I'll just go ahead and give you that based on looking at little sort of some of the sigils on it. It looks like the pillar might have been designed to sort of do an auto identify for the things on it.
Okay.
So the idea being, see how dangerous and cursed and corrupted this is, and yet someone decided to take it anyway.
Do we still have the book? The children's book?
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know why you wouldn't, unless you had just left it at the in Sunya instead of carrying it with you.
Oh, Nedry's got it in the bag.
Yeah.
I mean, I figured you probably did.
Especially after Tanglefoot was no longer in there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think after kind of absorbing all of that, Ivy had been kind of standing there for a moment, just taking that in, and then just kind of says, well, I think I've decided what I'm going to recommend to the Emperor, which is to say we should leave all of this alone.
Well, I would agree with you, but I don't know that we can right now.
No.
Someone is already here and messing with it, and
So
We have
had
to
you
do
told everybody
something.
about I mean, I think you would have to go over and like just no, everyone else would be just seeing the illusion of the wall.
yeah, I would probably.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll
I
walk
thi-
over there and
yeah.
and kind of I'll wave my hand kind of through the illusion, like poke it. Like,
Also, when you're close enough there to see, you can see that it is a tunnel, but I would invite you to make an investigation check of it because it
Yeah.
appears to be caved in. But go ahead and make an investigation check. Anyone who would like to, once it's obvious there's an illusion there.
not
15.
very good at those.
Okay. It's hard to know exactly how it all went down, but it looks to you like this was an older tunnel, like much newer than like the caverns you're in, but decades old, and yet that cave-in looks recent, like brand new. So it is currently blocked, but it looks like that blockage is just happened.
So, hear me out, but reading that those people were meant to be caretakers of this place, does anybody else feel like maybe we should, I don't know, use that spell gem and bring back both Rupino and Trendino?
I kind of feel like they walked away from their duty. Seltzer
Maybe
didn't
they
want
had
anything
no
to do with
choice.
what was in the past.
Yeah, Ivy kind of says, well, yes, I think I have to agree with Nedry there. I mean, it says that they were to be caretakers, and yet they weren't here.
But we don't know why.
Well, not to defend anyone, but I don't think Rupino did. Look what he built. He built a weapon to he went off to build a thing to destroy half the world.
And Trendinel was corrupted. I mean, we learned that firsthand from the dragon. So who knows what happened along their paths?
Wonder whatever happened to Talitha. I guess I just assumed they were all dead, but we keep finding them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Their lives were magically extended according to the door.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Talitha, Eustock, and Hestia. I don't think you've had any clue of where they are.
Well, we know that Eustock, I think, was the one that helped Rupino.
Yeah, he had helped at some point, but then left at some point too, and you don't know where they went.
This is going to take a lot of study to understand everything that's here. I don't think that it's actually, well, maybe the Emperor doesn't want to have anything to do with this place, but I do. There's so much to understand. And
Ivy
if-
kind of chuckles and says, "Well, I would rather characterize it as my recommendation to the Emperor would be to leave this place alone. I don't know that I can necessarily speak for what his opinion would be, absent my recommendation."
Well, especially because the Reclaimers Academy was under the guise of the Emperor. And they came here before.
There are always going to be those who crave power and are willing to ignore warnings. I mean, the story on the door confirms that. I rather say that this setting has made a compelling argument to my mind, but
Also, I would posit that, fancy words, that perhaps if they took something from here, like, say, a cursed circlet, that,
Yeah.
changed the way they thought and acted, and, maybe that's what caused their problems.
Well, then there's also Tanglefoot.
Mm-hmm.
yes, we still
how
don't know
many-
how he and his kind seem to figure into all of this.
Yeah, I kind of feel like maybe Tanglefoot was a real person that got replaced by the chaos nightmare that we've been dealing with.
Maybe they were the ones that paid the price.
Or refused to pay the price. Or
Or were created
There-
by the side effects.
there was also mention of, like at the beginning of the story, they were talking about order and chaos, and the beings of chaos couldn't control their forms, and they were clearly from somewhere else. This is very complicated. I mean, we have this whole story that told us so much, and I feel like we just have more questions.
That's what I usually think.
Well, so what's our priority then? Because it seems as though the tunnel seems likely to be the way Tanglefoot would have gone. But he was clearly attempting to bypass the normal methods of protection.
Well,
we-
it said if the gem was red, the throne chamber could be accessed by the, what was it called?
The Fractine.
Fractines.
Well,
Fractine.
to slightly more specific, it said it could only be safely accessed via the Fractine.
Right.
I have some measures of being able to do some defense psychically, but nothing for everyone. And it sounds as though this place will mess with your mind.
At the very least. It
So
also
the footnotes, just to clarify too, related to the Fractine, there was more of the technical arcane detail about it, because they seem to have gone to some extent to try to be clear that they're not trying to trick anyone with this. So what they describe is that there is a control word that will summon a two-dimensional demiplane that you can get inside, and then will travel in itself to the room where you can observe it from within the demiplane, and then be returned back out here before you're returned to this plane. So to be able to observe it without being physically present in the room.
And we could at least see what's going on.
Maybe
Yeah.
that's what that line up there was. Like, in the door, there's a thing.
yeah. I think that's probably correct.
It's only two-dimensional.
I also don't think we'll be able to fight. We'll just be able to observe, so at least we can see what Tanglefoot is up to. Although what they can do to us is still up in the air, but I think that's the best bet right now, is to use the Fractine. And let's at least do some reconnaissance and see what's going on in there.
Well, we might be able to interact with it. It sort of suggests it, but it might be weird. I'm hoping it's weird. But the formula, while complex, is not outside of my realm of understanding. I think I could do it.
Well, it's just a command word.
True,
So,
but it's just a command word to make a horse go, too. But unless you know how to hold the reins, it goes everywhere.
While you guys are arguing, Carolina has marched up to the door and kind of looked at it a minute and then said the command word, see what happens.
Okay.
Whatever.
You sense just the barest hint of like a draft through the little through that slit if you're standing right there, and then all of a sudden emerging something like impossibly thin begins to emerge from the slit, but you're standing right there and it comes out only a few inches and seems to hesitate.
I'm gonna touch it.
So all the rest of you watch as Carolina sort of disappears, and emerging from the slit because it was waiting because she was standing in the way is a 10-foot square of it looks almost like glass, but if you're looking at it from one side, you can now see Carolina as though you're looking at her through a window. But if you walk around, it is completely two-dimensional, and when you look from the other side, you see her from the other side, but it was just, she is in that two-dimensional space. Carolina, for you, you feel as though you're just standing in sort of like a glass box. You feel fine, like there's no discomfort of any kind or anything, but you are sort of in, the classic mime box. And it is a little bit disorienting because like when you try looking around the rooms, like as long as you're looking straight on, it seems fine. But then when you kind of try to turn around, your vision kind of distorts in the middle. You can't quite look out the side because it, like everything seems to distort around that.
Well, apparently it works.
Yep.
And Nedry will walk over to it.
I'm gonna walk over and call Buster to me and
All right.
and go like hold on to him and walk in.
Okay.
So it's like a 10 by 10?
Well, that's what it appears to be, like when
Right.
you're standing outside it.
This is going to be crowded.
And Nedry will step in,
All right.
step up.
Yeah. So as all of you get in there, you find that I think Carolina, you were in there first, and it seems to be about 10 by 10, 10 wide and 10 long for you. But as more people suddenly appear next to you, it does seem to grow, like so that there's enough room for you to all stand comfortably and be looking out this strange window. And you're all kind of in there, and the instructions did give you like basically. There's a word to summon it, and then a word to go, and then a word to return.
Time to go.
And in fact, actually, I think that you see, like, near the bottom of one of these wall windows is another little panel that has the words on it. So you give the command?
Yep.
All right. It is another slightly disorienting view, as the direction that you can't quite see because it's back towards the door. But when you look in that direction, everything bends like a funhouse mirror. But then all of a sudden you zip in and you're completely in darkness. But then eventually you pass through little periods where there's just like a gap. Where you can see into a small sort of dark space, but then another period where it's just completely blocked. And you pass through several of those, and it looks like it's sort of an elaborate like attempt to prevent someone from trying to and you find yourself like moving vertically up and down. At one point you descend and it looks like you're passing through liquid, and you gather that a lot of this is attempts to prevent someone from trying to get through this passage some other way. But eventually, you emerge into a much larger space, and although it takes a moment for your eyes to adjust, you see an enormous room that looks like royalty's throne room, and possibly ornate, incredibly well, like designed and elaborate and beautiful, except the place is awash in all sorts of really strange energies. There's like rainbows, arcing across areas that seem to swirl and move like they're alive, and also in ways that are a little hard to put your finger on. It feels like the colors aren't right somehow. Like, you can't even quite say what it is about those colors that, like, what's wrong about the colors in a rainbow, except you feel it nonetheless. And there are strange swirls of dust that seem to collect into shapes for just a split second before moving on and swirling around again. There's all sorts of this, like, strange activity swirling all throughout the room. It's difficult to see, but only through watching it for a second you get kind of a sense of the shape of the room. And you're passing along this room, kind of seeing the whole, run of it. And then finally it approaches towards the end, and you can see, you've passed, first of all, along an enormously big wall that has thousands of arcane sigils glowing all over it. And yet there are cracks in the wall. And then finally you arrive at the end, where you see, arrayed in sort of like descending pedestals, 5 thrones. Only one of them is occupied. The center, where a woman sits, looking impossibly old and gaunt and wizened. But as you look, she looks up at you, and you can't hear anything, but she seems to mouth, "Help me." And that's where we're going to end tonight's session.
I think we found Talitha, you guys.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh.
Looks
So-
too scary. Let's go home.
So, what more will be found here in this place? Where has Tanglefoot gone? What can be done? We'll have to find out next time when we return for more adventure on so many levels.
So
So
many
many
levels.
levels.
Two-dimensional levels.
So many creepy levels.
Oh boy.
All right. Good night, everybody.